Welcome back to Wine About Real Estate. Cheers to another episode.
Yes.
We're very excited today. We are going to have Good Life Home Inspections come and talk to us.
Yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to have them in here to talk to us about the different things about a home inspection, a pest inspection, and why it's good for a buyer, but not only why it's good for a buyer, but why it's good for a seller. So we're going to dive.
All right, so we're going to welcome on in Matt with Good Life.
Matt Singer, Good Life, formerly North American.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep.
Well, and we're here to talk with Matt today about the importance of not only getting a pest inspection and a home inspection for your buyers or the buyer, but how super important it is for a pre-list inspection for when you're selling.
Yeah, so a seller can get an inspection done before we even bring it to the market and see what happens in real estate from both aspects. So with that being said, let's just dive right into a buyer comes to you for a home inspection and they want the full home inspection, pest inspection, all of those goody details.
Okay, so I specifically am a pest inspector, right? I know a decent amount about home inspections as well. In the pre-list situation, right? Or so you call, you order, set an appointment, right? If you order both at the same time with Good Life, then there's a discount, right? So if you order just a single inspection, like a pest inspection, I think it's $150 for a slab house, $180 for a raised foundation.
And sorry, can I stop you right there?
No, go for it.
Okay, so what's the difference between a slab and a raised?
And most people don't know.
Right.
So slab foundations are usually the newer homes, right? So that means that the whole foundation of the house is solid concrete.
Got it.
Right. So they're going to pour a big old concrete slab and then build a house on top of it. The raised foundations are when you have a concrete foundation or a footing that goes around the perimeter of the house. Depending on the size of the house, it might have a concrete stem wall that goes through the middle as like reinforcement.
Yeah.
Typically that's, it's more often that you just have a wide open sub area space. So raised, you have to crawl. Slabs, you don't.
So, and then that's why the raised foundation
costs more
because you have to physically go underneath the house.
Correct.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. And so depending on size, like once you get over 3,000 square feet, then the price goes up just because of the size of the house. So when it comes to home, I'm not 100% on what they charge. I think it's like $350, $380.
Yeah, it depends on the size of the house.
Once you get over the 400 or once you get over the 3,000, then everything goes up. Decks cost extra, and if you have like a VA and there's a second like livable ADU or something, right, that's not attached, they want that inspected too. Usually,
would a shop be considered something that the VA would require?
If you could put a bed in it and live in it, yes. And that's my understanding, right? I'm not a mortgage person.
Yeah, and I'm not a lender either. I just sell homes.
Yeah. So I just know that the VA, like detached garages, those like more than often have to be inspected for VA loans, right?
I go,
and I've seen them get hung up. But then like nowadays you have the MPMA 33 form, right? Which is the bypass the section 1 of the dry rot findings in a pest report. So they'll get the wood destroying organisms or the pests like termites, beetles. They want to see that there's none of that, but then other than that, they don't care.
Okay, so
the underwriter never sees the pest report.
Right. So since we're on that subject of section 1s, can you break down what a section 1 is?
So pest reports. Well, I just kind of go through the differences and what we got, like a general overview of like pest versus home. So home inspectors are certified, meaning it's a private association. They pass a course and they get issued a paper certificate. It says that you're a home inspector, right? The pest side, we're state licensed, so we have to do state testing. You have to pass that, and then every 3 years we have to go show them we have 16 hours of continued education. The reason is we're writing reports they're basically saying we're going to put a pesticide around your house, right?
Yeah.
And so they control the pesticide or the application of the pesticide to make sure pets don't get hurt, that kind of stuff. And then also because the banks base funding off of our findings, right? Then they want to make sure that we have the proper training, right?
Makes sense.
So the state's involved with us, right? And the difference now is a home inspection report is private, right? You don't have to show anybody unless you're disclosing, like if you did it for a pre-list. The pest report itself is a legal document. It gets attached to the title of the house for 2 years. So if somebody were to look up title, they would see that a pest report was done. It's not going to like post a pest report, right? It just say, hey, a pest was done by this company, and then you'd have to track it down.
Yeah.
But you can, right? So if somebody was playing games, right, and not following the rules, and they had a pest report before they listed, but they didn't disclose, you could hypothetically look that house up on title and see if there was a pest report done.
Oh,
right.
That's, you know what? I just learned that because I didn't know that.
Yep.
That's good information.
It's always good.
Yeah, and you could also call the Structural Pest Control Board, which people don't do.
Yeah, don't do that.
Because we have to issue every report we send out gets sent to them as well, right?
Got it.
And so they just know that it's been done. They get a digital copy and then they have it. They won't give you, if you call them and say, hey, I'm at this address, has any pest reports been done? They'll tell you, right? And then if you request it, they will contact us to issue the report to them, and then they'll give it to you, right?
Okay, so let's back up.
So
section one.
Section one, section
yeah.
So the pest report, right?
Yeah.
It's broken into 3 sections. Section 1, 2, and 3. Right?
What should they expect to see on the front page of it?
Okay, so the
pest
report, so the pest report itself, when you get a report, you're going to have a diagram, a 2-dimensional diagram that's going to outline the foundation of the structure, right? Depending on the inspector and how much pride they put in their report, right? You'll see overhangs, like back patio overhangs, because that doesn't share the foundation, right? This is attached to the house. So the overhangs will be like a dotted line or a dashed line, right? The solid lines are the foundation walls. And then some guys will draw doors as like a frame of reference, like I do, because repairmen use that as a map.
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense.
So if you put a
That's
door
very
or something
helpful.
or a slider, right, somebody can tell where that is. Especially if, like, you know, a seller gets it or a buyer gets it and they have the report. If they're walking around the house trying to find this stuff and there's no pictures, they don't have any frame of reference.
And do you use pictures in your pest report?
Our pest reports come with pictures. It's a separate file. Most companies nowadays have pictures. I mean, it's 2024.
Yeah. They should.
But not all, right?
Right.
And especially in the sub area where nobody's going to go, because it creates doubt, right? Like if you don't have pictures of the stuff in the sub area, like some people will be like, well, I don't believe that, right? And so then you're stuck in this spot.
Might as well just be really transparent and say, hey, this is
exactly
here we are.
It's not there, and then take a picture of it.
Right.
You can see it for your own eye.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
I mean, we're getting paid to go under there, so you document it.
Right.
Because out of everything, right, whether it's a buyer or a seller, the sub area, if it's a raised foundation, is what everybody's worried about.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
And so, like, you should take pictures of anything. It's the sub area.
Yeah.
So section 1 are the active wood destroying conditions. So they're called pest reports. Or termite reports. It's the technical name for the report itself is a wood destroying organism report, or a WDO report, right? So first page, you'll have your diagram. It'll have icons dropped around the house, right? Those are the approximate locations of where we found what we found. Our numbering system is 3s for section 1, right? And they're alphanumeric, so 3A and up, right? 3B, 3C, 3D. If you go over 3Z, you got a dicey house. And,
you probably should replace your roof, all your siding.
It's not a condition or a situation that we've run into.
Good.
I've seen people double up. I mean, I've gotten to Z, right?
What? You have?
Oh, yes. It just nowadays.
It's out there. It's
out there, right? You've seen it.
And then on top of it, like nowadays, because of the escrows being so tight, right? Like a pest report can have we provide an estimate, right? So because of that, we can have a serious effect on a escrow.
Yes, you can.
Right? Because usually when you have an inspection, right, contingencies haven't been pulled. So they can back out.
Right.
So, but I started doing, and people who are like in tune with the market that do pest inspecting, is it's the same finding, right? So say it's a roof line finding or trim, but the repairs are different. So back in the day when you had low rates and it was really competitive and people weren't really stressing that stuff that much, you just sandwich all the trim findings into one recommendation for repair, right?
Right.
Now, because of how competitive it is in the service we want to provide, like a Good Life, you'll separate the recommended repair to control cost, right? So the idea is if you're there for a buyer and it's a damaged piece of wood within eye shot of walking up to the door, usually you don't want to like splice repair that or hack it, right?
Right.
That's what people would say, like that's
Right.
a hack. Or
Right, it's a
shoddy
hack
repair.
job, yeah.
Right.
My husband's a general contractor,
Yep.
so I hear some of that verbiage
Yes.
in my home.
Well, we do. I mean, obviously, everyone would prefer to do a full piece repair. However, people don't want to pay for that.
Right.
They're trying to sell their house.
Right.
So, in a lot of situations, we're backed into a corner. We have to recommend a splice.
You're right.
Because it's not.
That's just like cutting out that certain area and
16
replacing.
inches, yeah.
And just replacing it and painting it.
Yes.
Priming
So,
it.
yeah. All our estimates.
I'm pretty good, huh?
Yeah. Good. Oh, I mean, you tell you've done real estate. Right? so the Section 1 findings are 3s in the letter. Some companies use the old numbering system, which is confusing. I'm not going to dive into it because we don't do it, but it goes up to like 11, right? And each number means a different part of the house.
Got it.
Right.
Like 11s are like sub areas or something, and 9s are interior. It's I don't like it because I was trained on 3s, 4s, and 5s.
Right, that's what you're accustomed
And 1s
to.
and 2s, yeah. So a 1A is a termite finding, right? A subterranean termite finding. Anything 2A and up are drywood termite findings. The difference between the two, since that's probably a question you're going to have, is the subterranean termites, like the name, they live in the ground or they colonize under the soil. They travel up through the soil and then they tube, mud tubes, like you'll see those little brown tubes like in the garage or wherever.
Yeah.
They tube up into contact with the wood and then they forage, right? So that's subs. We treat them or we eradicate them by treating the soil because we know their path of travel.
Yep.
So all we have to do is put a product or termiticide around the perimeter of the house.
I have to stop you again
Yep.
because typically when you have a first time home buyer, they
Freak out.
freak. Like, oh my God, termites. They automatically go to that
It's a
cartoon
great distinction.
where the door or where the house one little bug just eats the house and the whole thing falls.
The
Right.
frame of reference for termites
yeah.
is like National Geographic in like the Sahara, where they have like these really aggressive like Formosan termites, right? And they'll take a shanty down in 30 days.
Right. And we're not talking about
No.
this is not a cartoon.
No.
That one little bug isn't gonna completely take down your
Yeah,
house.
your head doesn't get bigger and then the
Yeah.
sawdust comes off. And
Right.
That doesn't happen.
Yeah. So with
Yeah.
that being said, subterranean termite.
Okay, termites versus dry rot.
Right.
I would much rather have termites than dry rot.
I agree with that statement because you can kill those little guys.
And the repair doesn't necessarily have to be a remove and replace.
Right. It's not invasive as
Once you kill a
dry
termite,
rot.
Once you kill a termite,
They're
damage
gone.
stops.
Right.
Right? Dry rot's like cancer. It's an infection.
Oh, I agree.
Right? So if you don't cut it out, it's going to spread.
Oh my God, that just made me go to a reference. What is it? Cut it
out.
out. Oh my God.
Full house.
Full house. Okay, see, I'm a dog. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's an acapulco reference, but I can't help it because I do
You
have
dated
dogs.
yourself, by the way. So
I don't care. I would tell you that my daughters watch Full House too.
Yeah, I watched
The
it
whole
growing up,
animal.
too.
yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
admitting I watched it, but it was a good show.
Well, you did because you knew it. You cut it out.
I'm not admitting it.
So back on subject.
Okay.
So you said dry rot is a fungus, correct?
Yes. Well, here, I'll finish the termites and then we'll dive into dry rot
Okay,
because
cool.
dry rot's a whole different deal.
Animal,
right?
okay.
So subterranean termites live in the ground. It's a perimeter treatment. It's typically about $1,200 to $1,500, right? Some people will do local treatments if you have limited evidence. So they'll treat the areas where you have activity.
Mhm.
So if you have a really tight escrow, like they'll ask us to make a secondary recommendation. So the primary is always the full treatment, right? We have to by the state regulation. So the primary will always be full treatment of the house. They'll ask or request for a secondary, or if the inspector thinks it's appropriate, they'll recommend a secondary localized treatment. Localized treatments can be effective for subterranean termites, right? If the treater does a good job and you get that whole area, it can be just as good as a full perimeter. It's just the warranty is different. You'll only get a warranty in the area that was treated.
Got it.
Drywood termites colonize in the wood member itself. So they're in the house, right?
Mhm.
So typically you find drywood termites because they leave fecal pellets, right? Some
Ah.
people call them frass. We refer to them as fecal pellets because frass can be interpreted as something different. And they'll be piled in a cone, right? And they're grainy. And the way to
I guess
tell.
I've never seen that before.
Oh yeah, it's when you see them, it's like a heart drop kind of thing.
Are those the
Oh.
ones that fly?
Well, those are just a cast of termite. So there's four castes of termites. You have the nymph, those are the ones that eat. You have the soldiers, those are the ones with mandibles. They protect the nymphs, right? And then you have alliates or swarmers. So they're a nymph termite, right? They're a normal, regular termite, but they have buds on their back. And when swarm comes around, they grow wings. And those are the only termites that can transform into a queen, right? And then you have one queen.
Wow, I didn't know we were having a science class. This is really cool.
For all the termites, right?
Okay.
Nymph, they do the damage. Soldiers protect the nymphs, right? They against ants usually, right? And then you have alliates or the swarmers. Those are the ones that can start new colonies. And then you have the queen. And the queen is the only one that can reproduce. And it doesn't need the other termites. It can just do it.
Wow.
Right?
Okay.
And so if you kill the queen, you collapse the colony.
Nice.
Right. It's not like a swarmer is going to all of a sudden say, "I'm next for the queen."
Right.
It doesn't
No, it's not like bees.
Yeah,
There's no anarchy.
It's not like Britain. Yeah.
It's not like Britain.
Yeah, British termites. So drywoods are a fumigation, right? And that freaks everybody out in Northern California. If you go down to San Francisco, to LA, along the coast, it's super common.
It's very common, huh?
So our main termite in this region, the Northern California region, in the valley, is subterranean termite.
I was just going to
So
ask.
the ones in the ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
we're
if you're
pretty
going to
lucky.
get termites, the majority of the time you're going to get subs, right?
That's
and that's
great.
dealable. That's
That
not a
is
big deal,
very dealable.
right? As long as you prepare people and say, "Hey, look, you're going to hear termite, and if you hear that, don't freak out."
Right.
It's not a big deal. Drywood termites, the only difference is you have to fume, and you don't know exactly how far they've gone. Right? So where you see fecal pellets, that doesn't mean that that's the only place that the termite is, right? That's just where they showed up and they had to kick out or clean their gallery because they're in there eating the wood, right? And then they poop it out.
Right. They're just having poop parties.
They're doing their thing.
Yeah.
So when the gallery gets too full of their fecal matter, they have to kick out and push that stuff out. And that's how you catch them.
Okay.
And then when they're done and they've cleaned out enough, they'll usually plug that hole using their fecal pellets and their saliva. They'll make a plug and they'll plug the hole.
They're dirty little
so
things.
it's hard to catch the hole. It's easier to catch the pellets.
Got it.
Right? And sometimes you'll catch subterraneans inside the house because they'll take a wrong turn and they'll pop out of the sheetrock because they really like the cardboard on the back of the sheetrock and they'll usually just clean it. Like they'll eat that clean. It's easy for them, right? So a lot of times they'll focus on the sheetrock and not the lumber. But I mean, we're getting into technicalities, right? Like the types of lumber and like redwood is resistant. They don't really like redwood. They have a hard time with it. So there's all this other stuff. If you have a redwood house, usually built before 1964, you tend to see a lot of like subterranean termites. You'll see a lot of activity. You'll see a lot of mud tubes, but the damage won't be that bad because they have a hard time with that particular type of wood, redwood and cedar, because it has tannins like the redwood.
So why wouldn't they build like?
Because it's expensive.
Oh.
And they can't cut those trees down.
Oh, that's
64,
a good
right?
That's a good point.
and you also see a difference in the material in the houses because a lot of times in those pre-64 houses, the wood members will actually be true size dimension, like 2x4.
Yeah.
Nowadays it's not. It's 1.5 by 3.5. Right? They call it a 2x4 because that's what it's been called, but it's a 1.5 by 3.5.
Right.
So technicalities.
Right.
So drywood termites, orange oil was a thing for a while, right? For local treatments to avoid tenting. That started in SoCal because you have drywood termites way more frequently and people didn't want to move out for 3 days. So the fume for a drywood termite is a 3-day fumigation, 24 hours with gas in the house, right? And they have to tent it to make it airtight so the gas doesn't escape. They put
so that's not typical. So if you're seeing a tented house, it's not for cockroaches typically.
Well, it could.
Well, I mean, I guess it's more likely in this area. It's probably cockroaches down
or bed bugs, which I don't have the license to speak on that, but like bed bugs.
Yeah, let's just not go there.
And that's a 3-day deal.
Oh,
it's the same. And carpet beetles. Yeah, they eat the carpet.
Nice.
They're pretty nasty.
Nice.
Again,
I've never come across.
I've never come across them.
Lately, I have. Recently.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't seen a ton of them, but then like the last.
In what area?
About 2 months ago, I ran into like it's usually like a cleanliness thing.
Okay.
Right? Like if you keep a clean house, it's usually not going to be a problem.
Yeah.
With bed bugs, it's a transfer. So like you can go to the movie.
Yeah.
Right. Dirty.
And
then they have bed bugs on them. Right? And it gets on the seat.
Yep.
And then it's on you. And and that's the thing about bed bug fumigations, which I'm not qualified to talk about.
Right. Neither am I.
They have to.
Neither am I.
They have to like fume your clothes, everything.
Yeah.
Right? Because in a fume, you don't have to move all your food out. Like perishable stuff that's in an open bag or whatever, like bananas, fruit, that kind of stuff, has to be bagged up or removed. And then anything canned can stay. And your clothes can stay because it's not residual. It doesn't, fumigation gas doesn't leave a residual on like clothes and whatnot.
Got it.
Which is one of the problems with fuming. Because once the tent's off, you're open for business.
So random question then. If I'm, I drive home and I see that a neighbor 2 doors down has a tent up,
I would have an inspection.
You want an inspection?
I would. I mean, personally.
That's what I want to know. I want to know that.
Yeah.
I know my buyers want to know that.
Right.
Sellers want to know that.
It's dicey, or it's a precautionary move, and it doesn't mean that you're going to, like, you can have drywoods and not catch them just because they're not showing up.
Right.
Right? Because they're hidden. And when you do an inspection, like if it's occupied, which is why like pest inspectors will indicate the house is furnished and occupied, because it's an inspection of the visible and accessible areas at the time, right? So like if they move out and uncover drywood evidence, right, we're not liable, because how are we going to see that?
Right.
Like, you can't move their couch.
And
if their couch is broken leg and you don't know it, you move it and it's like, boop, the broken leg. And then they go, you broke my couch.
Yep.
Right? And then you got more problems. So drywood, termites, local treatments, personal preference, I wouldn't do it. Because a lot of times what we see, or you end up doing, is you end up chasing them around the house. Now they have new products. Termidor is the termiticide we use, Termidor HE. It's like the flagship or the best, if you ask me. I'm not a salesman for them, but I've been in the business.
You like their product.
I've been in the business for 10 years, and we've always used Termidor, and Termidor works.
Okay.
Great, right? They have knockoffs that are solid products. Other companies use them, like Taurus. They're good products, but we just always stuck with Termidor because when you treat it, you have confidence it's going to kill them, right, or eradicate them. And a big portion of a treatment is peace of mind.
Right.
Right.
Oh, absolutely.
If you don't have peace of mind, or you don't have faith in your inspector, and you have questions about your treatment, and then you're going to bed thinking, I got termites eating on my house, like you really didn't get what you wanted out of that treatment. Right. Even if they're dead and you have a second thought.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Especially with all the things that come up in a real estate transaction and the whole process. If we could eliminate one thing that's going to be on their mind.
And peace of mind is huge.
Peace of mind is important.
I think that's up there.
I just got done helping a roofing company with a roof they replaced, and they had a flashing issue and it leaked. And the roof is 6 months old.
Oh.
Well, they came back and said they fixed it. Well, then they had a leak in another spot, right? In the same area, in the general vicinity. By that time, the homeowner had lost their peace of mind.
Right. I would have too. It's not, I mean, I get it.
You spend like 20-something grand on a roof.
Right.
Yeah.
You kind of want a peace of mind. It's a lot different than $1,200.
Absolutely.
So who wants to go to bed when it's raining and be like, is my new roof going to leak?
So since,
So drywoods, local treatments, they have a foam you can inject, right? The way that Termidor works, this is the last termite deal, right? The way that works is it's a protein inhibitor, right? The protein is called chitin. So termites eat the wood, they digest the cellulose sugar and what they want out of that wood, right? And then they produce a protein that they use to recoat themselves. So they have an exoskeleton, right? And so they'll molt their skeleton or their exoskeleton, and then they'll produce that chitin, and then they coat themselves with it, right?
Interesting.
The termiticide prevents that process. So they molt, they die, they dry out, they die. Okay. So a treatment, it takes usually 6 to 8 weeks for colony collapse or to stop seeing activity. So it's not uncommon, if you have a treatment, to see activity for a couple weeks after the treatment. Like, you don't panic. Like, it's going to work. It's just, it takes time.
Yeah, like everything.
And it's a transfer,
right?
So like termites will go through the barrier we put in the ground, right? Now that they're coated in it, they'll go back to the colony and feed other termites, and then they'll clean each other, right? And so you'll get this transfer, kind of like COVID, right? I mean,
well, it's a good analogy.
So soon enough, right? It's just like, it's exponential. Like, it's 6, then it's 36, and then just and then all of a sudden, either the colony collapses around the queen and she starves and dies, or the queen gets it on her and she dies, and then they all die. Because they can't reproduce.
Right.
So termites are the mains, and then you have beetles. Typically, beetles are moisture related, right? The fumigation, you have to tent for that too. And you can do a topical treatment, so if it's localized, like if it's in one little spot.
Yeah.
But usually it's related to excessive moisture or bad ventilation, right? And More commonly, it's in a raised foundation. I'd say like 95% of the time.
Okay.
You can find them, beetles, in a slab house. It's usually related to like sprinklers spraying or water getting into a wall,
Yeah.
or like downspouts, gutters leaking and constantly soaking a wall.
Yeah.
So because it never dries out.
Right.
So then like you introduce beetles to that. That's that's a condition that they prefer.
They love. So that's what we would typically find on a section 1, right?
Those are all section 1.
Okay.
Those are all wood destroying pests, and they will hang up a NPMA 33 form for a VA. So if you have subterranean, drywood, or beetle indicated on a pest report, you're going to have to either take care of that before you get an NPMA form, or you're not going to be okay with an NPMA, and then the underwriter's going to want to see section 1 cleared. Right? Or they're going to want to see the pest report. And once they see the pest report, then it's whatever they want, right? Just like with the appraisals. Right. So we're
not closing until these things are done.
Yeah, and it's like if they're not a big thing right now, refis, VA refi. I always recommend, personally, if you get the appraisal first. Get the appraisal first and find out what the appraiser's targeting.
Yes.
This is never mind.
Cut it out.
It's easier for us if we know what the appraiser's looking at, because if you're not selling the house, right, it's a bad situation when you have a vet who wants to pull equity out of their house.
Mm-hmm.
They usually don't have money to repair the house before they get that equity.
Right.
Now we can bill escrow on a refi, so that helps. But like if you're borrowing so much money, well, now you're gonna have to bump that up to cover dry rot repair.
Yeah.
So like there's some guys in the termite industry or the pest inspecting industry that'll see that as an opportunity to sell a job. And so they're going to be very thorough and write repairs with decent sized estimates because they know it's an opportunity to land something. I'd say that's few and far between, but that's kind of the rep, right?
Yes.
The termite guys are just, making stuff up and they're running numbers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not the case.
No.
Because we're state regulated. So if you made a complaint on that, they'd be honest, like white on rice.
Right.
So, it doesn't behoove somebody and your reputation.
Right.
Word
of mouth in this industry is
realtors
yeah.
Oh, we do.
Yeah, we do.
You do someone dirty, right, with a finding that's suspect, 10 agents are going to know about it.
Right? Yes.
If not more.
And your company gets a black eye.
Yep.
Right? And
that could be your demise.
It's not okay.
No.
No. So those are all sections.